Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to another session of me reading the Bible and commenting on the Bible. I hope you're all well and okay. And before I start, just want to say, reminder to please like this video if you enjoy it, and to share and subscribe. Just a note also, there's an invite link in the description to a chat forum that I belong to. It's called Amber's Place, and it's a great place to get to know me as well as many other people who come here in chat to talk about the kind of things I'm reading and the other things I'm talking about on this channel as well. You're welcome to click that link. You will be asked, if you don't already have it, to download either an app or go to a website and register, which is called Discord, which is a free chat forum. This is simply a chance to get to know you and to get to know me and others. This isn't a scheme or in any way an attempt to try to get financial support or anything like that. It's simply a free chat forum that you're welcome to join, and there are many other servers on there as well, of all sorts of different topics. Anyway, so thank you for coming, and with no further ado, I shall turn to my Bible and carry on where I left off last time. Let me just get everything I need in hand's reach here. Okay. So last time we got up to Genesis, the end of Genesis 23. So I'm going to start with Genesis 24. Let me know if the sound isn't good enough. I know I've got the fish tank beside me, and the water sound would be the filter, but I can always twist the outlet spray bar to quiet that down if necessary. I'm just using my standard laptop microphone, so I hope it's good enough and you can hear me okay. Okay, so Genesis 24. A wife for Isaac. Abraham was now very old, and the Lord had blessed him in everything he did. He said to his oldest servant, who was in charge of all that he had, "Place your hand between my thighs." A note on this is that to place something between the thighs, this was the way in which a vow was made, absolutely unchangeable. Okay, so he said to his oldest servant, who was in charge of all that he had, "Place your hand between my thighs and make a vow. I want you to make a vow in the name of the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, that you will not choose a wife for my son from the people here in Canaan. You must go back to the country where I was born and get a wife for my son Isaac from among my relatives." But the servant asked, "What if the young woman will not leave home to come with me to this land? Shall I send your son back to the land you came from?" Abraham answered, "Make sure that you don't send my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, brought me from the home of my father and from the land of my relatives, and he solemnly promised me that he would give this land to my descendants. He will send his angel before you, so that you can get a wife there for my son. If the young woman is not willing to come with you, you will be free from this promise. but you must not, under any circumstances, take my son back there." So the servant put his hand between the thighs of Abraham, his master, and made a vow to do what Abraham had asked. Okay, just a personal comment here. From some of the reading I've been doing on Judaic history, which includes Christian history and Islamic history, because they're all the same Abrahamic roots. The God of the Abrahamic religions put all the stock in descendants and bloodline and lineage. Lineage was and is to many still more important than virtually anything else. In fact, to many, it doesn't matter what faith you practice, it's your lineage that's important. And for example, in the Judaic traditions, you can call yourself a Jew by race or a Jew by faith, but they're two separate things, to many's understanding. So it was far more important that your bloodline remained pure, which is why so many practiced close marriages. So they married close relatives, and they would not marry outside of their lineage at all costs for some. And that continued in the elite circles even after the Middle Ages. So you're talking about the royal families and the very rich families, and they still practice that today, marrying within their family bloodlines as much as possible, in order to conserve their genetic history and their lineage. Okay, so I'll carry on. The servant who was in charge of Abraham's property took 10 of his master's camels and went to the city where Nahor had lived in northern Mesopotamia. When he arrived, he made the camels kneel down at the well outside the city. It was late afternoon, the time when women came out to get water. He prayed, Lord, God of my master Abraham, give me success today and keep your promise to my master. Here I am at the well where the young women of the city will be coming to get water. I will say to one of them, please, lower your jar and let me have a drink. If she says, drink, and I will also bring water for your camels, may she be the one that you have chosen for your servant Isaac. If this happens, I will know that you have kept your promise to my master. Before he had finished praying, Rebekah arrived with a water jar on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, who was the son of Abraham's brother Nahor, and his wife Milcah. So, who was she? She was the son of Abraham's brother Nahor. She was the daughter of the son. So she's like a second cousin to Isaac. She was a very beautiful young woman and still a virgin. She went down to the well, filled her jar, and came back. The servant ran to meet her and said, please give me a drink of water from your jar. She said, drink, sir, and quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and held it while he drank. When he had finished, she said, I will also bring water for your camels and let them have all they want. She quickly emptied her jar into the animal's drinking trough and ran to the well to get more water until she had watered all his camels. The man kept watching her in silence to see if the Lord had given him success. When she had finished, the man took an expensive gold ring and put it in her nose, and put 2 large gold bracelets on her arms. He said, please tell me who your father is. Is there room in his house for my men and me to spend the night? My father is Bethuel, son of Nahor and Milcah, she answered. There is plenty of straw and fodder at our house, and there is a place for you to stay. Then the man knelt down and worshipped the Lord. He said, Praise the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has faithfully kept his promise to my master. The Lord has led me straight to my master's relatives. The young woman ran to her mother's house and told the whole story. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and he ran outside to go to the well where Abraham's servant was. Laban had seen the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's arms, and had heard her say what the man had told her. He went to Abraham's servant, who was standing by his camels at the well, and said, Come here with me. You are a man whom the Lord has blessed. Why are you standing out here? I have a room ready for you in my house, and there is a place for your camels. So the man went into the house, and Laban unloaded the camels and gave them straw and fodder. Then he brought water for Abraham's servant and his men to wash their feet. When food was brought, the man said, I will not eat until I have said what I have to say. Laban said, Go on and speak. I am the servant of Abraham, he began. The Lord has greatly blessed my master and made him a rich man. He has given him flocks of sheep and goats, cattle, silver, gold, male and female slaves, camels and donkeys. Sarah, my master's wife, bore him a son when she was old, and my master has given everything he owns to him. My master made me promise with a vow to obey his command. He said, Do not choose a wife for my son from the young women in the land of Canaan. Instead, go to my father's people. Sorry, the page is stuck. To my relatives, and choose a wife for him. And I asked my master, What if she will not come with me? He answered, The Lord, whom I have always obeyed, will send his angel with you and give you success. You will get for my son a wife from my own people, from my father's family. There is only one way for you to be free from your vow. If you go to my relatives and they refuse you, then you will be free. When I came to the well today, I prayed, Lord, God of my master Abraham, please give me success in what I am doing. Here I am at the well. When a young woman comes out to get water, I will ask her to give me a drink of water from her jar. If she agrees and also offers to bring water for my camels, may she be the one that you have chosen as a wife for my master's son. Before I had finished my silent prayer, Rebekah came with a water jar on her shoulder and went down to the well to get water. I said to her, Please give me a drink. She quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, Drink, and I will also water your camels. So I drank, and she watered the camels. I asked her, Who is your father? And she answered, My father is Bethuel, son of Nahor and Milcah. Then I put the ring in her nose and the bracelets on her arms. I knelt down and worshipped the Lord. I praised the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me straight to my master's relative, where I found his daughter for my master's son. Now, if you intend to fulfill your responsibility towards my master and treat him fairly, please tell me. If not, say so, and I will decide what to do. Laban and Bethuel answered, Since this matter comes from the Lord, it is not for us to make a decision. Here is Rebekah. Take her and go. Let her become the wife of your master's son, as the Lord himself has said. When the servant of Abraham heard this, he bowed down and worshipped the Lord. Then he brought out clothing and silver and gold jewelry and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave expensive gifts to her brother and to her mother. Then Abraham's servant and the men with him ate and drank and spent the night there. When they got up in the morning, he said, Let me go back to my master. But Rebekah's brother and her mother said, Let her stay with us a week or 10 days, and then she may go. But he said, "Don't make us stay. The Lord has made my journey a success. Let me go back to my master." They answered, "Let's call her and find out what she has to say." So they called Rebekah and asked, "Do you want to go with this man?" "Yes," she answered. So they let Rebekah and her old family servant go with Abraham's servant and his men. And they gave Rebekah their blessing in these words: "May you, sister, become the mother of millions. May your descendants conquer the cities of their enemies." Then Rebekah and her young women got ready and mounted the camels to go with Abraham's servant, and they all started out. Isaac had come into the wilderness of the well of a living one who sees me, and was staying in the southern part of Canaan. He went out in the early evening to take a walk in the fields and saw camels coming. When Rebekah saw Isaac, she got down from her camel and asked Abraham's servant, "Who is that man walking towards us in the field?" "He is my master," the servant answered. So she took her scarf and covered her face. The servant told Isaac everything he had done. Then Isaac brought Rebekah into the tent that his mother Sarah had lived in, and she became his wife. Isaac loved Rebekah, and so he was comforted for the loss of his mother. Right. Wow. It doesn't mention a marriage. Perhaps he didn't actually have weddings at this time. It sounds to me he just took her into a tent. They spent the night together, doing monkey business, and then she was his wife. I noticed it said she covered her face with a scarf, which is interesting because that kind of tradition has remained with the some of the Islamic faith. I don't know if they still do that in the Judaic peoples. Okay. Genesis 25. Other descendants of Abraham. Abraham married another wife, whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jakshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan, and the descendants of Dedan were the Ashurim, the Letushim, and the Leumin. The sons of Midian were Epher, Hanok, Abidah, and Eldah. All these were Keturah's descendants. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac, but while he was still alive, he gave presents to the sons his other wives had borne him. Then he sent these sons to the land of the east, away from his son Isaac. So it's funny how they never mentioned this before. How many wives did he have? Were these other wives free women or were they slaves? Not very fair, is it, to give everything he owns to just one? The death and burial of Abraham. Abraham died at the ripe old age of 175. His sons, Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in Machpelah Cave in the field east of Mamre, that had belonged to Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite. It was the field that Abraham had bought from the Hittites. Both Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried there. It's interesting here, it says he bought the field from the Hittites, whereas before it wasn't clear that he had bought it at all. It seemed more like it was given to him and was contested afterwards. Okay, so it starts off by saying Abraham died. It says here both Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried there. Was Sarah already dead? Did she die later? Or is this like the later Egyptian traditions where the wife would have been sacrificed and buried with her husband, I wonder? After the death of Abraham, God blessed his son Isaac, who lived near the well of the living one who sees me. The descendants of Ishmael. Ishmael, whom Hagar, the Egyptian slave of Sarah, bore to Abraham, had the following sons, listed in the order of their birth: Nebaioth, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetor, Naphish, and Kedemah. They were the ancestors of 12 tribes, and their names were given to their villages and cattle places. Ishmael was 137 years old when he died. The descendants of Ishmael lived in the territory between Havilah and Shur, to the east of Egypt on the way to Assyria. They lived apart from the other descendants of Abraham. The birth of Esau and Jacob. This is the story of Abraham's son Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, an Aramean from Mesopotamia, and sister of Laban. Because Rebekah had no children, Isaac prayed to the Lord for her. It's a bit strange how all these women aren't seeming fertile until God intervenes. Although, actually, not really that strange when you read the Sumerian history. The Lord answered his prayer and Rebekah became pregnant. She was going to have twins, and before they were born, they struggled against each other in her womb. She said, "Why should something like this happen to me?" So she went to ask the Lord for an answer. The Lord said to her, "Well, where was the Lord?" She went to ask the Lord an answer. Did she ring him on the telephone? It sounds like she actually went to a physical place where he was. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are within you. You will give birth to two rival peoples. One will be the stronger of the other, or one will be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger." The time came for her to give birth, and she had twin sons. The first one was reddish, and his skin was like a hairy robe. So he was named Esau. Esau is taken to refer to Seir, S-E-I-R, the territory later inhabited by Esau's descendants. Seir sounds like the Hebrew for hairy. Somebody on the last time I did this said that much of the Bible is just, the stories encoded in the names. So it's more about the territories than the actual individuals, as I assume. The second one was born holding on tightly to the heel of Esau, so he was named Jacob. This name sounds like the Hebrew for heel. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born. Esau sells his rights as the firstborn son. The boys grew up. Oh, just at the point here, it makes the point saying that Esau was reddish and his skin was like a hairy roe. But it doesn't describe Jacob. So what did Jacob look like? See, this is interesting because this makes me think of the it makes me think of, according to the Sumerian tablets, the first versions of humans that were created, the Lulus, were reddish in color. Dark hair, dark eyed, reddish skin in Sitchin's translation, or reddish black skin. The later versions, our ancestors, were white skinned, generally. Well, two were born, a boy and a girl. The girl was dark skinned, dark haired, dark eyed, if I remember correctly. The boy, Adam, was white skinned, blonde haired, and blue eyed. That's it. I think the Lulus had reddish hair. Red hair, dark skin, dark eyed. Because the red hair comes from the Anunnaki, who were usually blonde to reddish blonde hair. So this reminds me, if you create a sow with the Lulu race, reddish, the skin like a hairy roe, that would make sense. It would stand to reason perhaps that the Lulus were hairier because they were more primitive, because over successive generations the amount of Anunnaki DNA decreased, and in the tablets it describes them becoming more primitive again, which is why they had to create an updated version, the humans 2.0s, which are us, or our ancestors. But it also could be a code for making you think Esau was more primitive or more stupid than Jacob, the second son, humans 2.0s. So my gut is telling me that this whole story is is a metaphor the right word? It's a story describing the creation of our species in story form. Okay. Give me 2 minutes. I just need to top my cup up and pop back. So I'll be back in a sec. Sorry, my legs are bad today, so I'm hobbling about a bit. Okay. Let's go to the other window. Okay. So Esau sells his rights as the firstborn son. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skilled hunter, a man who lived the outdoor life. Again, the Lulus, it describes in tablets how about 100,000 years or so after they were created, they began to just walk away from the mines into the wild places and return to living the kind of life their ancestors had lived, a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, almost it describes, rather than continuing being the slave labor force of the Anunnaki. And the Anunnaki just couldn't be bothered to do anything about it because they had enough anyway. Until too many started doing that, and then it became a problem. So that, it's funny how it says, the boy grew up and Esau became a skilled hunter, a man who lived the outdoor life. The Lulus, when they grew up, as in over the time of their existence, became skilled hunters and led an outdoor life. But Jacob was a quiet man who stayed at home. Again, the humans 2.0, tended to, once they were created, tended to be used more as house servants and priests, because our ancestors were so much more intelligent, whereas the Lulu species continued to be used in the mines as slave labor with some of our ancestors as well. Isaac preferred Esau because he enjoyed eating the animals Esau killed, but Rebecca preferred Jacob. So if Isaac equates to Enki, so Isaac could equate to Enki, Rebecca could equate to Ninhasa, Enki's half-sister, or Isaac could refer to Enlil and Rebecca to Enki. Although I'm not sure that Enlil preferred the Lulus, other than the fact that they were more easily controllable. Perhaps, I suppose in that respect, he did prefer the Lulu species, the human species. Okay. One day, while Jacob was cooking some bean soup, Esau came in from hunting. He was hungry and said to Jacob, "I'm starving. Give me some of that red stuff." That is why he was called Edom, in brackets, which means red. Why he was called Edom? Not sure. Jacob answered, "I will give it to you if you give me your rights as the firstborn son." Esau said, "All right, I'm about to die. What good will my rights do me then?" Why was he about to die? Jacob answered, "First make a vow that you will give me your rights." Esau made the vow and gave his rights to Jacob. Then Jacob gave him some bread and some of the soup. He ate and drank and then got up and left. That was all Esau cared about, his rights as the firstborn son. That was all Esau cared about, his rights as the firstborn son. So, again, that would have truth in it if you equate it back to the Lulu and human saga. Isaac lives at Gerar. There was another famine in the land besides the earlier one during the time of Abraham. Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, at Gerar. The Lord had appeared to Isaac and had said, "Do not go to Egypt. Stay in this land where I tell you to stay. Live here, and I will be with you and bless you. I am going to give all this territory to you and to your descendants. I will keep the promise I made to your father Abraham." Sorry, I'm just thoughts just come into my head. So if Isaac and Esau and Jacob equate to the Lulu and humans, then Abraham was in the Sumerian tablets the son of Enki anyway. Never mind. Sorry, I'll stop that piece again. There was another famine in the land besides the earlier one during the time of Abraham. Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, at Gerar. The Lord had appeared to Isaac and had said, "Do not go to Egypt. Stay in this land where I tell you to stay. Live here, and I will be with you and bless you. I am going to give all this territory to you and to your descendants. I will keep the promise I made to your father Abraham. I will give you as many descendants as there are stars in the sky, and I will give them all this territory. All the nations will ask me to bless them as I have blessed your descendants. I will bless you, because Abraham obeyed me and kept all my laws and commands." So Isaac lived at Gerar. When the men there asked about his wife, he said that she was his sister. Really? We're going to do this again? He would not admit that she was his wife because he was afraid that the men there would kill him to get Rebecca, who was very beautiful. Oh, how brave of him! When Isaac had been there for some time, King Abimelech looked down from his window and saw Isaac and Rebecca making love. So they were having sex outside. Evidently. Abimelech sent for Isaac and said, "So she is your wife. Why did you say she was your sister?" He answered, "I thought I would be killed if I said she was my wife." "What have you done to us?" Abimelech said. "One of my men might easily have slept with your wife, and you would have been responsible for our guilt." I'm guessing that Rebecca would not have had a choice in that. Abimelech warned all the people, "Anyone who ill-treats this man or his wife will be put to death." Isaac sowed seed in that land, and that year he harvested 100 times as much as he had sown, because the Lord blessed him. He continued to prosper and become a very rich man. Because he had many herds of sheep and cattle and many servants, the Philistines were jealous of him. So they filled in all the wells which the servants of his father Abraham had dug while Abraham was alive. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Leave our country. You have become more powerful than we are." So Isaac left and set up his camp in the valley of Gerar, where he stayed for some time. He dug once again the wells which had been dug during the time of Abraham, and which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham's death. Isaac gave the wells the same names that his father had given them. Isaac's servants dug a well in the valley and found water. The shepherds of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's shepherds and said, "This water belongs to us." So Isaac named the well Quarrel. Isaac's servants dug another well, and there was a quarrel about that one also, so he named it Enmity. He moved away from there and dug another well. There was no dispute about this one, so he named it Freedom. He said, "Now the Lord has given us freedom to live in the land, and we will be prosperous here." Isaac left and went to Beersheba. That night the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I will bless you and give you many descendants because of my promise to my servant Abraham." Isaac built an altar there and worshipped the Lord. Then he set up his camp there, and his servants dug another well. Okay, so I don't know what, but I'm thinking the wells do not mean wells. I'm thinking they mean something else. In reality. I mean, this is like the Bible, okay? This is a book that is supposed to inform billions of people on how to live their lives and the history of humanity. Are wells really that significant? So, the wells must mean something else. What? I don't know. Could be a variety of things. It's like when they say countries. I don't think they were countries. I think they were maybe towns or not like we consider countries. And there's still been no mention of weddings. So it seems to me like, somebody just takes the woman they want and she doesn't really get much say in the matter. Which is why they're always saying, they seem to be saying their wives are their sisters. But then, if the other person who was in chat last time is right, and all the characters are equated to the actual peoples or places or names of tribes rather than actual individuals, then to be married, two nations to be married, I mean they're trading partners, I suppose. Whereas siblings, a sister, might mean what the sister nation under the protection of the brother nation. Okay. The agreement between Isaac and Abimelech. Abimelech came from Gerar with Ahuzzath, his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army, to see Isaac. Wasn't Abimelech the king that was featured previously in Abraham's time? He must be really old by now. Anyway, so Isaac asked, "Why have you now come to see me when you were so unfriendly to me before and made me leave your country?" They answered, "Now we know that the Lord is with you, and we think that there should be a solemn agreement between us. We want you to promise that you will not harm us, just as we did not harm you. We were kind to you and let you leave peacefully. Now it is clear that the Lord has blessed you." Isaac prepared a feast for them, and they ate and drank. Early next morning, each man made his promise and sealed it with a vow. Isaac said goodbye to them, and they parted as friends. On that day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well which they had dug. They said, "We have found water." He named the well Val. That is how the city of Beersheba got its name. This really doesn't make much sense. How many wells do they need? Because that would be 4. Why did Abimelech only now know that the Lord is with Isaac? Because he kicked him out of his country because he was scared because he spoke to Isaac before about his fear of what would happen if Rebekah had been taken by his men. He already knew the Lord was with him. They seemed to think that the fact that they let Isaac and his people leave peacefully was something that Isaac should be grateful for. But Isaac didn't do anything. Should you be grateful because someone didn't rob you? Anyway, Esau's foreign wives. When Esau was 40 years old, he married 2 Hittite women, Judith, the daughter of Beeri, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon. They made life miserable for Isaac and Rebekah. And that's it. It doesn't say how they made life miserable for them. I think that's probably more to teach the early peoples, Judaic peoples, what would happen if they married foreign women. Isaac blesses Jacob. Isaac was now old and had become blind. He sent for his eldest son Esau and said to him, "My son." "Yes," he answered. Isaac said, "You see that I am old and may die soon. Take your bow and arrows, go out into the country and kill an animal for me. Cook me some of that tasty food that I like and bring it to me. After I have eaten it, I will give you my final blessing before I die." While Isaac was talking to Esau, Rebekah was listening. So when Esau went out to hunt, she said to Jacob, "I have just heard your father say to Esau, 'Bring me an animal and cook it for me. After I have eaten it, I will give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die.' Now, my son," Rebekah continued, "listen to me and do what I say. Go to the flock and pick out 2 fat young goats, so that I can cook them and make some of that food your father likes so much. You can take it to him to eat, and he will give you his blessing before he dies." But Jacob said to his mother, "You know that Esau is a hairy man, but I have smooth skin. Perhaps my father will touch me and find out that I am deceiving him. In this way, I will bring a curse on myself instead of a blessing." His mother answered, "Let any curse against you fall on me, my son. Just do as I say and go and get the goats for me." So he went to get them and brought them to her, and she cooked the kind of food that his father liked. Then she took Esau's best clothes, which she kept in the house, and put them on Jacob. She put the skins of the goats on his arms and on the hairless part of his neck. She handed him the tasty food, together with the bread she had baked. Then Jacob went to his father and said, "Father." "Yes," he answered. "Which of my sons are you?" Jacob answered, "I am your eldest son, Esau. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of the meat that I have brought you, so that you can give me your blessing." Isaac said, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" Jacob answered, "The Lord, your God, helped me to find it." Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come closer so that I can touch you. Are you really Esau?" Jacob moved closer to his father. He felt him and said, "Your voice sounds like Jacob's voice, but your arms feel like Esau's arms." He did not recognize Jacob because his arms were hairy like Esau's. He was about to give him his blessing, but asked again, "Are you really Esau?" "I am," he answered. Isaac said, "Bring me some of the meat. After I have eaten it, I will give you my blessing." Jacob brought it to him, and he also brought him some wine to drink. Then his father said to him, "Come closer and kiss me, my son." As he came up to kiss him, Isaac smelt his clothes, so he gave him his blessing. He said, "The pleasant smell of my son is like the smell of a field which the Lord has blessed. May God give you dew from heaven and make your fields fertile. May he give you plenty of corn and wine. May nations be your servants, and may peoples bow down before you. May you rule over all your relatives, and may your mother's descendants bow down before you. May those who curse you be cursed, and may those who bless you be blessed. So they're not exactly twins, are they? If one's really hairy, like a goat, and the other one is smooth skinned. Again, this equates to the Lulus and the humans. Or perhaps some might say the Nephilim and the humans. So Isaac preferred either whether you call them the Nephilim or the Lulus, whichever this equates to, rather than the smooth-skinned ones. Esau begged for Isaac's blessing. Isaac finished giving his blessing, and as soon as Jacob left, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He also cooked some tasty food and took it to his father. He said, "Please, father, sit up and eat some of the meat that I have brought you, so that you can give me your blessing." "Who are you?" Isaac asked. "Your elder son Esau," he answered. Isaac began to tremble and shake all over, and he asked, "Who was it then who killed an animal and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came. I gave him my final blessing, and so it is his forever." When Esau heard this, he cried out loudly and bitterly and said, "Give me your blessing also, father." Isaac answered, "Your brother came and deceived me. He has taken away your blessing." Esau said, "This is the second time that he has cheated me. No wonder his name is Jacob." In Hebrew, Jacob sounds like the word for cheat. "He took my rights as the firstborn son, and now he has taken away my blessing. Haven't you saved a blessing for me?" Isaac answered, "I have already made him master over you, and I have made all his relatives his slaves. I have given him corn and wine. Now there is nothing that I can do for you, my son." Esau continued to plead with his father. "Have you only one blessing, father? Bless me too, father." He began to cry. Then Isaac said to him, "No dew from heaven for you, no fertile fields for you. You will live by your sword, but be your brother's slave. Yet when you rebel, you will break away from his control." Esau hated Jacob because his father had given Jacob the blessing. He thought, "The time to mourn my father's death is near, then I will kill Jacob." But when Rebekah heard about Esau's plan, she sent for Jacob and said, "Listen, your brother Esau is planning to get even with you and kill you. Now, my son, do what I say. Go at once to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him for a while until your brother's anger cools down, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send someone to bring you back. Why should I lose both my sons on the same day?" This is more and more reminding me of the story of the Sumerian stories. So if that's true, and this is code for that, then Rebecca would equate to the mother of Rebecca would equate to the female mothers of the Lulus and humans, which would have been, according to Sitchin, was probably a female of the Homo erectus species, but it could have been any early hominid. And it's true that the Anunnaki preferred the second version, because the second version of the Adam and Eve was 50% Anunnaki, whereas the Lulus were far less than that. They were more like the primates. of this well than the Anunnaki, whereas our ancestors are more like the Anunnaki than the planets of this well. And God, the Lord, which in fact that is a pluralistic term for the Anunnaki in general. They did prefer the later versions. And gave them the blessing that you could say should have been due to the Lulu species being the first creations, the firstborns. But I don't know if the Lulus ever tried to kill the our ancestors, or threatened to do that. Okay, Isaac sends Jacob to Laban. Rebekah said to Isaac, I am sick and tired of Esau's foreign wives. If Jacob also marries one of these Hittite women, I might as well die. Isaac called Jacob, greeted him, and said to him, don't marry a Canaanite woman. Go instead to Mesopotamia, to the home of your grandfather Bethuel, and marry one of the young women there, one of your uncle Laban's daughters. May Almighty God bless your marriage and give you many children, so that you will become the father of many nations. May he bless you and your descendants as he blessed Abraham, and may you take possession of this land in which you have lived and which God gave to Abraham. Isaac sent Jacob away to Mesopotamia, to Laban, who was the son of Bethuel, the Aramean, and the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. Esau takes another wife. Esau learned that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Mesopotamia to find a wife. He also learned that when Isaac blessed him, he commanded him not to marry a Canaanite woman. He found out that Jacob had obeyed his father and mother and had gone to Mesopotamia. Esau then understood that his father Isaac did not approve of Canaanite women. So he went to Ishmael, son of Abraham, and married his daughter Mahalath, who was the sister of Nabaioth. Jacob's dream at Bethel. Jacob left Beersheba and started towards Haran. At sunset, he came to a holy place. Another translation calls it just a place, and camped there. He lay down to sleep, resting his head on a stone. He dreamt that he saw a stairway reaching from earth to heaven, with angels going up and coming down on it. And there was the Lord standing beside him. Or another translation will say on it. I am the Lord, the God of Abraham and Isaac, he said. I will give to you and to your descendants this land on which you are lying. They will be as numerous as the specks of dust on the earth. They will extend their territory in all directions, and through you and your descendants I will bless all the nations. Remember, I will be with you and protect you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done all that I have promised you. Jacob woke up and said, the Lord is here. He is in this place, and I didn't know it. He was afraid and said, what a terrifying place this is. It must be the house of God. It must be the gate that opens into heaven. Jacob got up early the next morning, took the stone that was under his head and set it up as a memorial. Then he poured olive oil on it to dedicate it to God. He named the place Bethel. The town there was once known as Luz, L-U-Z. Then Jacob made a vow to the Lord, if you will be with me and protect me on the journey I am making, and give me food and clothing, and if I return safely to my father's home, then you will be my God. This memorial stone which I have set up will be the place where you are worshipped, and I will give you a tenth of everything you give me. Jacob arrives at Laban's home. Jacob continued on his way and went towards the land of the east. Suddenly he came upon a well out in the fields with 3 flocks of sheep lying around it. The flocks were watered from this well, which had a large stone over the opening. Whenever all the flocks came together there, the shepherds would roll the stone back and water them. Then they would put the stone back in place. Jacob asked the shepherds, "My friends, where are you from?" "From Haran," they said. He asked, "Do you know Laban, grandson of Nahor?" "Yes, we do," they answered. "Is he well?" he asked. "He is well," they answered. "Look, here comes his daughter Rachel with his flock." Jacob said, "Since it is still broad daylight and not yet time to bring the flocks in, why don't you water them and take them back to pasture?" They answered, "We can't do that until all the flocks are here and the stone has been rolled back. Then we will water the flocks." While Jacob was still talking to them, Rachel arrived with the flock. When Jacob saw Rachel with his uncle Laban's flock, he went to the well, rolled the stone back, and watered the sheep. Then he kissed her and began to cry for joy. He told her, "I am your father's relative, the son of Rebekah." She ran to tell her father, and when he heard the news about his nephew Jacob, he ran to meet him, hugged him, and kissed him, and brought him into the house. When Jacob told Laban everything that had happened, Laban said, "Yes, indeed, you are my own flesh and blood." Jacob stayed there a whole month. Okay, I'm just trying to work out who Laban would be if the Jacob Laban would be Enlil, or one of Enlil's family. If Jacob was Adam. Assuming we're talking about individuals and not actual groups of people or races or species. The Anunnaki were a mix of different species, apparently. So they could easily have been, Laban could be code for another species created by, in a similar way, we were created by the royals, the highest caste of the Anunnaki. A month doesn't mean may not mean an earth month. Could be a month of heaven or Nibiru, which is a much longer time period, thousands of years basically. So what's this about wells? The flocks of sheep would be flocks of beings, humans, tribes, nations. You wouldn't need to keep rolling a large stone over the opening of a well. So that's going to mean something else. The shepherds guides, mentors. I've got some ideas as to what the well could be. Could be some sort of a wormhole, a planet, something that only appears at certain times, interdimensionals. Hey, Michelle. Just trying to decode this. Okay. Jacob serves Laban for Rachel and Leah. Laban said to Jacob, "You shouldn't work for me for nothing just because you are my relative. How much pay do you want?" Laban had 2 daughters. The elder was named Leah and the younger Rachel. Leah had lovely eyes, but Rachel was shapely and beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel, so he said, "I will work 7 years for you if you will let me marry Rachel." Laban answered, "I would rather give her to you than to anyone else. Stay here with me." Jacob worked 7 years so that he could have Rachel, and the time seemed like only a few days to him because he loved her. Then Jacob said to Laban, "The time is up. Let me marry your daughter." So Laban gave a wedding feast and invited everyone. But that night, instead of Rachel, he took Leah to Jacob, and Jacob had intercourse with her. In brackets, Laban gave his slave woman Zilpah to his daughter Leah as her maid. Close brackets. Not until the next morning did Jacob discover that it was Leah. He went to Laban and said, "Why did you do this to me? I worked to get Rachel. Why have you tricked me?" Laban answered, "It is not the custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the elder. Wait until the week's marriage celebrations are over, and I will give you Rachel if you will work for me another 7 years." Jacob agreed, and when the week of marriage celebrations was over, Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. In brackets, Laban gave his slave woman Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her maid. Those brackets. Jacob had intercourse with Rachel also, and he loved her more than Leah. Then he worked for Laban another 7 years. Yeah, see, this is really okay. So, if you're assuming here is an Anunnaki year, which is a Sitchin plane was 36,000 Earth years, times 36,000 by 7. You're talking about 250,000 years, which is the time between, according to the Sumerian histories, the creation of the first Lulus and the creation of the first humans. 250,000 years. So this is, I think, most definitely, or very likely, this whole story here about Isaac and his 2 sons, Esau and Jacob. This is the story of our histories. Now, who are these women? Who did they represent? Leah and Rachel. So Leah is the Leah was the younger daughter, which means she would have been represented women of our race. Rachel would have represented, that's right, isn't it? Hold on. The elder was Leah, the younger Rachel. Oh no, Rachel would have been represented females of our species then. Leah would represent females of the Lulu species. Which also would make sense for the writers of this, because implying that Laban stroke Enlil, after we were created, must have done an edict or some description to force the Lulu males to only breed with Lulu females, which is in character. Seven years went by, and then the Lulu males, okay, no, what happened then, okay, the Lulu females was the first ones available to them. They were up 7 years, 250,000 years, and then suddenly modern human women, we assume, were present, and they were given to, yeah, that would, okay. Oh, and I haven't read all the Sitchin's work, so I'm gonna have to read more of it to look into this part of it, because it could be a variety of scenarios here, actually, a couple of different scenarios. Okay, I'm just gonna go on. I'm just gonna finish this section and then I'll stop. The children born to Jacob. When the Lord saw that Leah was loved less than Rachel, he made it possible for her to have children, but Rachel remained childless. So Rachel would equate to Eve, or our species who struggled with fertility. And that's also equates to Sumerian prophets. Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She said, "The Lord has seen my trouble, and now my husband will love me." So she named him Reuben. She became pregnant again and gave birth to another son. She said, "The Lord has given me this son also, because he heard that I was not loved." So she named him Simeon. Once again she became pregnant and gave birth to another son. She said, "Now my husband will be bound more tightly to me, because I have borne him 3 sons." So she named him Levi. Then she became pregnant again and gave birth to another son. She said, "This time I will praise the Lord." So she named him Judah. Then she stopped having children. Right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 sons. But Rachel had not borne Jacob any children, and so she became jealous of her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children or I will die." Jacob became angry with Rachel and said, "I can't take the place of God. He is the one who keeps you from having children." She said, "Here is my slave Bilhah. Sleep with her so that she can have a child for me. In this way I could become a mother through her." So she gave Bilhah to her husband, and he had intercourse with her. Bilhah became pregnant and bore Jacob a son. Rachel said, "God has judged in my favor. He has heard my prayer and has given me a son." So she named him Dan. Bilhah became pregnant again and bore Jacob a second son. Rachel said, "I have fought a hard fight with my sister, but I have won." So she named him Naphtali. When Leah realized that she had stopped having children, she gave her slave Zilpah to Jacob as his wife. Then Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Leah said, "I have been lucky," so she named him Gad. Zilpah bore Jacob another son. And Leah said, "How happy I am! Now women will call me happy," so she named him Asher. So is that, am I reading this right? Is that 7? So Bilhah bore him a son, Dan, born 2 sons, Dan and Naphtali, and then Zilpah bore Asher. 7. Oh, isn't that funny? Because when the Lulus were created, the fertilized embryos were implanted into Anunnaki high-class females, and if I remember correctly, there were 7 of them. Those were the first Lulus born. 7 males, born of 7 unhappy females, of embryos created using a mixture of genetic DNA, but the egg from a Homo erectus. Wow. During the wheat harvest, Reuben went into the fields and found mandrakes. Mandrakes are plants which are believed to produce fertility and were used as love charms, which he brought to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." Leah answered, "Isn't it enough that you have taken away my husband? Now you are even trying to take away my son's mandrakes." Rachel said, "If you will give me your son's mandrakes, you can sleep with Jacob tonight." But when Jacob came in from the fields in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You are going to sleep with me tonight because I have paid for you with my son's mandrakes." So he had intercourse with her that night. God answered Leah's prayer, and she became pregnant and bore Jacob a 5th son. Leah said, "God has given me my reward because I gave my slave to my husband." So she named her son Issachar. Leah became pregnant again and bore Jacob a 6th son. She said, "God has given me a fine gift. Now my husband will accept me because I have borne him 6 sons." So she named him Zebulun. Later she bore a daughter who she named Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. He answered her prayer and made it possible for her to have children. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She said, "God has taken away my disgrace by giving me a son. May the Lord give me another son." So she named him Joseph. I look forward after I finish this to read the Sumerian translations and equate them together. But I am finished for the evening. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Whether you're watching now, whether you're going to be watching later. As I explained at the beginning, please like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you shared it. And if you would like to come back, don't forget to subscribe so you'll get notifications. Don't forget to click on the bell symbol if you want to get notifications. I don't have a regular time for my videos, so notifications are probably quite important. The reason being, my health is variable, so I don't know when I can be well enough to do this. So it's just a case of when I can do it, and when I feel up to it, I will. So anyway, thank you for coming, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care of yourselves. Okay, and good night.